Hello friends and welcome to the channel. In this video I would like to take you through phase 5 of Dragonsong's Reprise Ultimate, and in this phase we'll be facing off against Forden once again, but unlike in phase 2 he has completely different mechanics, but there are some mechanics that carry over like Ancient Quagga, Heavenly Heal and the Tank Buster Cleaves. So with that out the way, let's just dive right in and get to the mechanics. Forden will begin the fight off with two casts, Incarnation and the Dragon's Eye. These are simply to resurrect dragons and give himself a buff. Not too much to think about here. All you want to do at this point is do as much damage as you can, and one tank needs to establish aggro on Forden and keep the boss facing away from the party. Once he has finished those two casts, he will do two auto attacks on the tank, and then he will begin casting Wrath of the Heavens. This is phase 5's first trio set of mechanics, and we're going to break down everything that's happening in this trio mechanic by mechanic. So once Forden has finished casting Wrath of the Heavens, he's going to jump into the air and become untargetable. So now you want to just purely focus on mechanics. Now the first thing you want to do is pan your camera around the map. Now I got very lucky here, and as you can see, the knights here, the two dragoons and the white dragon, which you can't see too well but it's right here, are the true north. So we want to find these knights and the dragon here. The two dragoons here are going to tether to two players, and the dragon is going to dive through the middle of the map. At a baseline level, the two players who get the tethers just need to drag the tethers as far as possible, just like this, kind of making a cross like that. But I will go more into depth when I show you me getting the mechanic myself. Meanwhile, another player is going to get targeted by this blue mark here, which you can see. This blue mark is going to be a massive splash AoE on that particular player, so they need to get away from the rest of the party. But again, I have more footage of me having that mechanic and showing you exactly what you need to do. Meanwhile, the rest of the 5 players who didn't get a mechanic have to go right. So you're going to look for the dragons of the dragoon, remember that is the north, and you're going to go right here, and you're kind of going to spread out around here accordingly, not to get hit by the tether here, but you're going to spread out, and you're going to see exactly what I mean. We all go to this side, we see each other, and we're just spreading for each other, and we're giving ourselves plenty of room. Meanwhile, you'll see that the dragon here is casting Twisting Dive. That is the dragon in the middle, by the way, and due to this reason, we want to go all the way up to the wall here, like we've done. Everyone's all the way up to the wall, and as soon as that cast is finished, or the animation on the dive has finished, we want to move forward. And the reason we want to move forward is you'll see right here these nasty little green things. These green things are left on every single player after Twisting Dive has finished casting. So you do not want to stand still once the cast is finished and the dive has finished. Otherwise you will catch yourself in these nasty green AoEs. And if you do catch yourself in these green AoEs here, and there's one behind me, you can't see it very well, but there's one here too. You can see every single player got one. If you do get yourself caught in them, you're going to insta-die. And they're going to do a massive splash AoE as well, killing anyone and knocking them into the wall if they are close by you. So do not hang around once that cast is finished. Now you'll see that there is a warrior here, and you also should be able to see that there's a mage. The mage is really hard to see in this footage, but there will be future footage where it's easier to see, and once the mechanic is passed a little bit. You're also going to notice this green marker here. This is a dive bomb marker, and the player with this needs to basically run to the mage. But again, I have footage of me personally getting that, so I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. You'll also notice that there's two players here that got these thunder debuffs. Again, just like with the dive bomb marker, I'm not going to overload you with information just yet, but I do have footage of me getting those mechanics as well, so I can really take you through exactly what you should be doing with all of these debuffs and these markers and all that sort of stuff. So for now, just focus on what I'm talking through you and take it one step at a time. So you'll notice Forden is casting an ability called Ascalon's Mercy, and I think it's Unconcealed or something like that. This one is different to the one in phase 2 where you will have to stack up and then dodge. Instead, this one is guaranteed to hit every single player in the group, and all you want to do with them is just not be stacked together and not clip each other. So we spread out, we've stayed spread out. Of course, we want to run back a little bit here and just try and spread out as much as possible to give ourselves as much room as possible. And you're going to see exactly what this does. You see my dancer has moved up a bit, and you can see obviously the player who had the green marker, which will always be one of these 5 players by the way, has moved up to the mage here, which you can actually see now. So just keep in mind that, but you see that we're all nice and spread out, right? And I'm going to let the cast finish, and just like that, we all took that cleave. You can see kind of how these cleaves are going out. They're actually smaller than they look visually, so don't worry too much about that, but do make sure that you are spread out, of course. Now you can see that it gives a physical vulnerability up. If you did manage to double clip each other, like 2 players hit each other with this, they would both die. So again, just make sure that you are spreading out properly here. Now you see I got targeted by this ability called Liquid Heaven, and this is 5 of these red AoEs here. Now it's always going to do damage on me, and these 5 AoEs are always going to be the 5 players who moved to the right side of the dragons and the dragoons initially. They will never be the tether player or the blue marker player, because those players got magic vulnerabilities, and if they were to get hit by this, they would just insta-die. As you can see, it's doing damage to me. 0 damage, but it's still doing damage to me. This is 5 of these, and I just want to kite them around. You'll also notice another player here is targeted by these altar flares. All these are baited AoEs. They don't go off straight away, unlike the liquid heavens, which you can see are going off and doing splash damage on me, and they do leave an AoE there. And if you go into those AoEs, by the way, you will get a burn and you will die. There is no way to save you if you do get burned. As for the altar flares here, these will not go off straight away, so you are safe to run through them, but just be wary of the timing here. All I want to do with these liquid heavens, which I have, or if you have the altar flares, these are 2 random players, remember, and of course, as me, I didn't get a tether or a blue marker, so I got the liquid heavens here. But all you want to do is you want to kite them away from the warrior, and once you've counted 4 or 5, it's always 5 for the liquid heavens and 4 for the altar flares, and then just run to the warrior here, because the warrior is casting empty dimension, and if you aren't in the warrior's hitbox here, or at least close to it, you're going to get hit by empty dimension, and it's not going to be a good time. You'll also notice these 2 funders here, the funder here and the funder here. They aren't with the group, because if they are with the group would get killed by the funders, so you don't want that. And just like that, that is the first Wrath of the Heavens. Now, let me show you a few other examples of how you should be dealing with Wrath of the Heavens, depending on what mechanic you have. Okay, again, we're at Wrath of the Heavens. I'm going to look for the north again. Fortunately enough, it was literally in front of me, but just remember, it won't always be in front of you. You always want to find these 2 dragoons, pan your camera around, and the dragon, and you want to treat that as north. And, you know, again, in this footage, it's north again, but we're just getting lucky here. And in this footage, I get a tether to me, and I want to extend this tether all the way here, and I kind of want to put it in between the waymark here, although you should probably try and put it more here, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, as long as you're not too close to the middle, because the white dragon dive is going through the middle and you will get clipped if you're too close, of course. But you want to either go around here or around here. Now, something really important to keep in note is these crystals around the map. You see these, and then you've got all the other crystals. You can use these as really good reference points throughout the fight. These crystals here are always in cardinal and intercardinal positions, so just keep that in mind. And then you have the mini crystals here, right? So you can kind of count and just make mini reference points between these crystals. It will come in real handy later down into the second trio, so just keep in mind of these little crystals, and also the markings on the map as well. The markings on the map are also really handy to have. So again, as I said, you can either be between here, it's all good. If I was a bit higher up, say if I was like here, I would get hit by the blue mark here, because that is a massive splash AoE and it's going to kill me if I'm too close. So again, I'm just extending this tether, I'm just waiting out, and then I'm moving forward for the twisting dive, because I don't want to get hit by the twister. You'll notice that the player next to me with the other tether is actually moving, and this player is going to move around here in between where the blue marker was and the other tether player. That's always the right tether looking at the north here. Now, the reason for that is to allow the people on the right side to have more room to spread around, and it's also just so only one player needs to move, because if, for instance, it might make more sense if I was to go up like this and he was to take my spot, right? But that's 2 players having to move, and that's a lot of thinking. So just having one player be the mover is a lot easier, and then one of these players can take his spot, which is over here, and it just makes sense. So he's going to go over there, and he's going to take the Ascalon's Mercy revealed here, just like that. And then, because I got nothing else, I'm just going to go into the warrior and just wait it out a bit. Something really important to note is if you are a blue marker or a tether player, you are not void from being targeted by the altar flares. So do make sure that you are paying attention to the altar flares before you go into the warrior, because if you put an altar flare on top of the warrior, it's going to kill everyone. So you don't want that. Same with the liquid heavens, of course. So do just wait it out, be at the very edge of the map before you go into the warrior, and just pay attention to everyone and what mechanics they get. And as soon as you know that you don't have an altar flare or any of the liquid heavens, you can go into the warrior and just stay there and be comfortable. Okay, again, Forden has finished casting Wrath of the Heavens. We're panning our camera around the map. Again, they're all north. We're extremely fortunate here. But again, they're all north here, and I don't have any mechanics, so all I want to do is go over to the right. But now I got a Thunderstruck here, so now I need to keep in mind that I have a Thunderstruck. Okay, so I know I have a Thunderstruck. That's okay. What I'm going to do in voice chat is I'm actually going to call left or right, and that means we're going to go either left or right of the warrior as that Thunderstruck player, because both of the Thunderstruck players should do this so they know where they're going, and so they're not in the group and they're not clipping each other either. And you're going to see exactly what I mean by that. But on top of this, I get the green marker, which is the dive bomb marker, right? So I need to identify where the warrior is and where the mage is. And the mage is over there. You can't see because of my party list, but you'll see in a moment that the mage is there. So I see the mage. I run over to the mage. I place my dive bomb waymark there. And then I also take the Ascalon Mercy revealed. Now, to give you an insight into what that green dive bomb marker is actually doing, is there's 2 dragons outside of the arena, and they are going to basically dive bomb that player with a green mark. As soon as that green mark has disappeared, that is where they're going to go. So because they've done that to me, I baited my green mark behind the mage all the way here at the edge of the arena, and then I can run to the warrior, and that big dive bomb isn't going to hit any of the other players. Because I have Thunder as well, which is just overloading you with mechanics, but this can happen, so just be wary of that. The mechanics do not discriminate who they're targeting, unless it's Tether players, and then the game just knows it can't target them with Liquid Heavens, because if it did, it would insta-kill them. So now you see that I'm running all the way to the warrior. That's the safe spot, and I called left. So we do it facing outside of the map. I called left here, so I know that left is where I go, and my Dark Knight also called right, so that's where he goes. And then we're both here in the safe place of the empty dimension. We're not going to hit the rest of the party. And just like that, we safely avoided the party and we safely avoided the empty dimension. Okay, we're back at it again. Forden's jumped away. We're panning our camera around the map, and this time, for once, the dragon and the dragoons weren't actually north this time, so here is proof that it's not always north. And you can see that I got the blue marker here. So if I was a player without anything, of course I go right? And if I'm a blue mark, I'm going to go left, because this waymark is a massive explosion, as we've talked about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go left instead, and I'm going to go right up here, kind of like how you would do this tether, but I'm a little bit closer. I'm kind of going like here in this little quadrant here. I know that this is a good quadrant because I don't want to be in the middle here. If I was in the middle here, this would hit that tether player because this is so big, and you're going to see exactly what I mean by that. So I'm just waiting it out here. And just like that, you can see it's really big. It's hard to see because of how flashy it is, but it's a really big explosion, and it only hit me, which is fine. Of course, I also moved forward as well to dodge the twisting dive. Remember, you have to do that as well. And then I'm just going to stay in place because the baited cleaves are about to go out. And then you can also see that I got an altar flare here. And this is just proof that anyone can really get targeted by these altar flares. They don't discriminate whatsoever because they don't do damage to you initially. They only do damage if you stay in that AoE. I do believe that the dive bomb marker cannot get targeted by a Liquid Heaven or a altar flare either, because they already are kind of busy during this point. But other than that, I'm just going to bait these. As you can see, I literally run through the first one that's casted because that's how much time you have. I've just baited these, and then I'm going to the warrior here. Because if I was to keep going up in this example, if I was to just keep going up and not run through it, I would have moved this altar flare into the warrior, and it would have not been safe for my group. So I had to take the risk of going back and just running through it. And as you can see, I only just made it, but there is enough time, so you can master that and sort of do that how you will. Once you have successfully done Wrath of the Heavens and Forden is targetable again, he's going to cast Ancient Quagga here, so make sure that you are popping some mitigations for this. Reprisals, Feints, Addles, and Raid-Wide Mitts as well. Just make sure that you have enough mitigation to survive this damage. After which, Forden is going to do a few auto attacks on the main tank, and then he's going to cast Heavenly Heal here. Now, this Heavenly Heal can be invulned with Living Dead and Homgang, but I believe you shouldn't be using Super Blide or Hallowed Ground because you desperately need those 2 invulnerabilities for a future invulnerability timing in Phase 6. So you can get away with a Living Dead or a Homgang here, but I don't think you can get away with any of the other invulnerabilities. So that's just a heads up. Otherwise, you can always do a tank swap here with some cooldowns up. Just make sure that the tank taking the Heavenly Heal has enough cooldowns and mitts to survive the initial hit, and then make sure you do a provoke during the Heavenly Heal cast for the other tank to take these 3 cleaves here. After that, Forden is going to begin to cast Death of the Heavens, and this is his second trio in Phase 5, and this is where the mechanics will pick up yet again. After Forden has finished casting Death of the Heavens, he will become untargetable yet again, and what we want to do here is we first want to find the warrior. He is our north, just like how we would treat the dragons and the 2 dragoons north in Wrath of the Heavens. The warrior here is the true north now. Now, how we do this is we have tanks and healers line up at the front here and DPS line up at the back here. Now, the reason for this is because 4 completely random players are going to get a Doom, and 4 players are going to get absolutely nothing, but they're going to be targeted by cleanse puddles instead. And these cleanse puddles will need to be taken by the Doom players, but we'll get into that in just a moment. I don't want to overload you with information. So for now, just be wary that we're doing this spread. I'll show you what it looks like when you get a Doom and when you don't get a Doom. So in this footage, I don't don't get a doom. Now, the way we do this is there's dragons all over the map, right? There's dragons all over the map. They're doing dive. So there's only a handful of safe spots here. The middle is completely unsafe, and then the intercardinals here and the cardinal here is a safe spot in a way, but there is a little bit more to it. It isn't exactly intercardinal and you're safe. You're going to have to pay attention, but again, we'll go into that in just a moment. For now, there's 4 players in total who have dedicated spots to where they go depending on what they get. So for instance, if my Dark Knight gets a doom, he will go here. If he doesn't get a doom, he will go up here low, and he doesn't have a doom, so he's going up there. And then we have our monk as well, and in our monk's case, if he has a doom, he's going to go over here. You can't see exactly where he's going to go, but he's always going to go over here. And if he doesn't have a doom, he's going to go in this spot here. And there is a reason for that. The reason for that is because the players without dooms, as I've mentioned earlier, are going to get targeted by cleansed doom puddles instead, which, you know, need to be taken by the dooms. But again, don't worry about that too much just yet. We just want to focus on our spots. So we have 4 players in total, and they are dedicated to 2 spots each. They don't have to do any adjusting. Meanwhile, the other 4 players do adjusting. So they don't really go by a set of rules when it comes to if they have a doom or not. They pay attention to the map and they look where everyone is. So for instance, I'm sticking around the middle. I'm rotating my camera around the map. I'm seeing where I need to go. I noticed that that spot was just taken, so I need to go over here, right? So I sprint over there. I do get rescued, but I could have probably still made it without the rescue. Either way, I sprint over here. I'm in the safe spot, and I just want to dodge in a particular way as soon as this has gone off. You'll also see that everyone got these thunder puddles here. As you can see, we all got targeted by thunder. So me and the sage here couldn't stack up, and it's very tight here. So luckily, we don't clip each other because of how much room we're giving each other, but we do have to be very precise with how much room we are giving each other. We dodge in a certain way. If you're a person in front, you'll dodge forward, and if you're a person here, you're going to dodge like this. The warrior is actually doing an earthquake, as you can see. This is exactly like the earthquake in phase 2, so you can treat it exactly the same. So I'm going to wait here until that earthquake's gone off, then I'm going to dodge into it just like that. Now, everyone needs to go to the middle, and they need to look around the map for Forden, because he's casting a gaze, and the big eyeball as well, which is casting a gaze. But you don't really need to quote-unquote look for it. You do need to just look for a spot where there isn't a gaze or Forden casting his gaze. Now, you'll see that we get the PlayStation symbols, and just like in phase 1, these work exactly the same way. So 2 players will get the same symbol, and they will always be chained to each other, so they need to break these chains. Now, how this works is the blue or plus chains need to go north and south, and they need to get pushed back in that way. These 2 players will never have a doom, so that's how they need to get pushed. The 2 circle players, or the reds, need to get pushed west and east. They will always have a doom, and there will always be a doom cleanse puddle there as well. The triangle and the square chains need to get pushed northwest, northeast, southeast, and southwest. Now, the players with a triangle and a doom need to get pushed to the northwest, and the player with a triangle but no doom needs to get pushed southeast. The player with a square and a doom needs to get pushed northeast, and the player with a square but no doom needs to get pushed southwest. Now, you're going to see exactly what that looks like, and you're also going to see a funny little macro that I have here. This is basically telling me exactly where I need to go depending on what chain I have. If I have a doom and I have a triangle or a square, I know I need to be in one of these 2 positions, because the north people, the north triangle and the north square, are always going to get pushed north to cleanse their dooms. So I'll show you what that looks like. And just like that, we all got knocked back properly. No one double clipped each other with the chains, and we didn't take too long to break the chains. Now, meteors are going to spawn. Every player needs to just solo one of these meteors depending on where they get pushed back. The healers probably won't be able to solo their meteors, but everyone else should be able to. So once you've soloed your meteor, make sure to jump on the healers' meteors and help them out. Okay, we're here at Death of the Heavens again. The Forden has just jumped up into the air, become untargetable. The warrior is now here on C, and we're going to treat the warrior as the true north again. So just remember where the warrior is. He's on the C-way marker, so we're just going to remember C is now north. We're going to spread out, do our line, healers in front, DPS behind. We're going to see who got debuffs here, and this time I actually got a doom here. So now I know that I need to go over to this spot here. Now, the reason for this, and the easy way to remember this, is dooms are never going north. Ever. Dooms never go north, they always go south, or they're always the front person in the middle, like shown previously. Now, if you go south, this is where things are interesting, because you can't be directly on the intercardinal. If I was directly here, this dragon is going to dive and knock me. So I need to go slightly over by 1 crystal. So you got the intercardinal, slightly go over by 1 crystal here. So I'm here, and I'm just ready to dodge, watching the earthquake as well, paying attention to exactly where that is. And you can see the big eyeball here as well while you're here, so you can actually see where the gazes are way in advance, and just take a mental note of where those allies are, so you aren't facing them when it comes to the pushbacks. So I'm going to wait for the cast to finish right here. I'm waiting for these casts to finish, and as soon as these casts are finished, I'm going to do my dodge movement. So I'm going to dodge to the left here. And I'm going to wait for that earthquake to go off. I'm going to dodge into the earthquake. I'm going to remember that C is north. I have a doom as well, so I need to remember what I need to do. And now I got a triangle, so I know I need to get pushed to the northwest. But that is, I remember, according to where the warrior was. We get knocked back. I take my Doom Puddle. You need to take your Doom Puddle, by the way, the moment you get knocked back. You cannot wait and be too wary of someone being too close to you, because if you just wait, you're going to not be able to cleanse your Doom in time. The snapshot of these big explosions is way before you even move in to get your Doom Puddle. So don't worry about clipping into someone with your explosion when you're going to get your Doom Puddle. You need to take that Doom Puddle no matter what. So don't wait for it. Go and take that Doom Puddle immediately. We've all spread out again, of course, and we are just going to solo the meteors that we landed by. Again, we're going to help healers once we have killed our own meteors. C is not okay. Once you have defeated all 8 of the meteors, Fordon will become targetable again, and he will begin casting Ancient Quagga, just like the previous one. Make sure that you are mitigating this with your feints, addles, and reprisals. After the Ancient Quagga, he will cast a Heavenly Heal on the current tank, and this will require a tank swap, so make sure that you're popping mitts for the Heavenly Heal initial hit, and then also mitigations for the free cleaves afterwards. After the tank buster, he'll do 1 or 2 auto attacks, and then he will begin to cast Etheric Burst. This is his enrage, and it will wipe the party if you do not get him below 3% HP. Once you get Fordon to 3% HP, he will beg for mercy and cancel his enrage cast. Now the goal here is to spare Fordon because he does come into play in a later phase. So practice keeping Fordon alive here. You have a whole 3% to work with, so it's not too difficult. After that, he'll stand back up again and exit the arena, and then you will begin to enter phase 6, which I'm going to save for another video and more experience in the phase myself. And that, my friends, will just about wrap up phase 5. There's going to be 2 raid planners in the description below, and you can check them out for precise movements on where exactly you need to be for these mechanics. And just remember that we have 4 adjusters and 4 non-adjusters for Death of the Heavens. I hope this guide has proven informational to you and broken down the mechanics accordingly. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any feedback or you need any further explanation on anything, leave it in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed yet and you enjoy my content, then please do consider hitting that subscribe button. And with that all said and out of the way, I'll see you guys in the next one. So until then, make sure to take it easy, stay safe, we out, goodbye.